Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is an episode of Life of Luba Live, a show where I'm interviewing interesting people on a variety of topics. And today my guest is Stepan, staff software engineer at Airbnb, and previously he was at Facebook. And today Stepan is going to tell us how he learned to code when he was 12 and launched a few businesses. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So you're a staff software engineer right now, and I'm just curious, how old were you when you started programming?
So the first thing I did, right, when I was in Canada, I didn't speak English. My friend was my computer, so it depends how you define programming. But on the very lightest things, like I would install Linux over and over again. I would use Juarez, so I would find illegal software and install it on my computer.
Nice.
And that started around 12.
Guys, don't use illegal software anymore. Those times have passed now. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, you're gonna get malware, guys. Don't do it. It happened to me
don't do it.
many times. So that's how it all started. I'd say like I started using Linux when I was maybe 12 or 13, and then I really liked forums. So before the age of Facebook, it was funny because when actually Facebook came around, I'm like, why would anyone want to use it? It's like forums, but you know everyone. Like, who wants that? So I would create these little forums, and some of the forums were like homework for our class forums. Other forums were hosting forums. So like, how do you make websites forums? And that's how it all kind of began. But to really be fair, I think a lot of people think that when people say I programmed when I was 12, it's like, oh man, they're geniuses, right? But I'll tell you that almost everyone I've met who actually said they programmed when they were 12, like myself, didn't actually program at all. Like I didn't know what an array was until I was 17 or 18. So it took me quite a while to actually understand
So
programming.
could you please elaborate on that? When people say that they're programming at 12, they're not really programming. So what did you exactly do from that age of 12 to 17? Because you still did programming, I guess, in a different definition of what programming is.
So here's what you do, right? You just get interested in things. So and then you try to solve it, but you don't really care how deeply you understand what you're solving. So in the example, I wanted to make maps for like Counter-Strike. So now I don't even remember how I did this, but like I put something together to make my own custom maps. Then I wanted to customize my forums. So I wanted to make like really nice, use Photoshop to add some lens flare on something and put it in. So then I figured out how do I use template languages to customize my forums. And then I wanted to make money. So around 13, 14, I figured out the magic of Joomla, which is the WordPress of a long time ago. And based on that, what I would do is, imagine like you just have this thing and you're able to just follow a few tutorials and you can turn it into anything you want. So I was able to do that, but at the same time, I would ask myself these questions like, wait, like, who says an array? Is an array a part of Ruby? Is it a part of Rails? Is it like, where does it come from? Yeah. Right? How does it know where to put what?
So you basically, from what I hear from your story, you were really motivated by figuring things out, figuring problems out, and building things. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say it's a combo of that, like an initial motivation of that. But I would say, like, to also kind of keep it a little fair, I'm not quite like the scientist. Like, there are some people that just want to learn, right? But for me, I'd have all these, I would tell my friend, like, okay, we're going to create like a secret layer of like, we're going to become millionaires at 14, like Zack and Cody in the Disney TV show, right? Or like, like I would look at I wanted to succeed in business. Too. So a lot of the times I would think about that. I would think about anime and like, hey, like I want to make my own anime website. Like, how cool would that be? other people
Yeah.
could see see anime on my website, right? So there wasn't like a
Yeah.
business component, but
Uh-huh.
there was a lot of fun and adventure in exploring that.
Yeah, and that I think is an amazing motivation. You know, you mentioned that you weren't motivated by just learning, but you were motivated to solve problems or like be cool in the community of your friends, or whether it be a business motivation to make money. I
Yeah.
think finding that extra motivation to build something that you're passionate about, that you want to make happen for one reason or another, is actually amazing in learning how to code and learning programming. So I know that when you were 17, right, you moved to Colombia from Canada.
Yeah.
Could you tell me about that? Why did you move?
Yeah, great question. So here's what happened. At that point, actually, plug for this gentleman. I read this author. He had a blog called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich." Great blog.
Ramit Sethi.
Yeah, Ramit
Stepan's
Sethi,
hero. Okay.
one of my heroes. So what happened is he said how, hey, look, everyone complains about the cost of tuition for universities, but no one applies to scholarships. In fact, there are some scholarships where they can't even award anyone because no one applied, right? And then he said, hey, look, I paid for Stanford by doing that. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to do the same. So I ended up applying to a bunch of scholarships. And one of these scholarships was a grant from the government. And the government gave me about
the Canadian government.
Yeah, from the Canadian government. Okay. All you had to do was write a business plan, and they would give you effectively $5,000 to build a company. So I ended up applying for that, and I got it. And there was kind of like a requirement that you had to go to university afterwards, but it wasn't necessarily clear. So I used that
You just use the money.
Yeah, so I used the money to build a business. And at that time, right, I thought, hey, like $5,000, like I'm pretty much set for life. Like what else do I need, right?
And you were 17 too, right?
Yeah, I was 17. I had 5,000 in the bank. I just closed a deal to create like this website for someone, and it was not like one more $3,000 in my bank account coming soon. So I thought, hey, I could go. I was, to be also fair, like I visually saw that university that I was gonna go to. I just never went inside, but it was there. I had it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. You know what though? Let me take a year off, right? Before I go all in, let me try to start a company. Let me try to travel the world, right? I had at that time this little globe in my room, and I put dots in all the cities that I wanted to go to. And at the time I had read a bunch of books like the Tim Ferriss, like 4-Hour Work Week. And
4-Hour Work Week.
I had this belief. I'm like, look, my dad, he's a very hardworking guy. He's a big business guy. So I'm talking to him and I say, Dad, and he tells me, look, if you want to make money, if you want to be rich, you got to work hard. And I told him, Dad, no, you don't understand. What I'm going to do is create passive income streams. And I'm going to not work, and then that's going to make me money. He's like, what is this guy doing? So that.
So fast.
Yeah. So that's when I said, okay, let me go to Colombia. It's pretty cheap. And I always wanted to visit South America. What a scary place. So that's how it started.
So fast forward, you moved to Colombia and you started Chill Hookahs, and then you started a few other businesses, like some tutoring company, right? And then you reached out to a startup founder, right? Who offered you to move to Asia to work for him. Is that right?
Yeah. So here's what happens. So tutoring company actually happened before when I was in in high school. I created a copywriting ad that was like, I will get, whatever you pay me, you'll get back in scholarships based on the kind of math tutoring I'll give you. So that was a fun aside. But in Colombia, what I did was what I would do is I would just start building things. And then anytime I respected someone, so let's say I read somebody's blog article, I read a book, I would just send them an email. So initially it began a little weird. Like, one time I emailed a person for an internship, and they said, I found out their wife's name. I found out when they were getting married. And I wrote something like, hey, you have the startup, you have your wife, you gotta commit to both. It's kind of hard. I can help you with one of them. Parentheses, not your wife, winky face. Right. But the crazy thing about all that was that they responded. Right, even that one, you know what the person responded with? It's like, oh yeah, the wedding's not on, it's not in September, it's in October. That's the response. So what I would do is send these messages, and one of them was a person who was building a company in China, and I said, I wrote a very intriguing title, "Shit Just Hit the Fan in Colombia," and he got 100 requests, but there was one guy that wrote something really weird, so he clicked into it, and he at first thought I was like a Colombian guy that spoke unbelievably fluent English, and I told him, hey, I made this, I made all these stuff, let's work together. And he said, you know what, come over. If it doesn't work out, I'll pay for your flight back. So that's how China started.
Cool. So in China, you worked for about 2 to 3 years, and then you had a few companies there, a dental, website business, a property management, real estate advertisement, I think something like that. So, how was that building those companies? What kind of lifestyle did you have living in China and being, like a cool startup founder?
So I'd say it was divided into 2 phases, Beijing phase and Taiwan phase. So Beijing phase was business Stepan. So I'd wear a suit every single day because there you gotta wear a suit if you want to be taken seriously. I think it's changed a little bit, but there, I came in, I was super excited. To kind of give you context on how excited, right? We would build essentially websites and services for dentists, right? But I was so into it that I would get books. I got the 1-800-Dentist guys. He had his own book. I read his book on marketing so that I could take him out, right? I had visions. I'm like, look, everyone thinks that websites are like, over, but it's not true. Like, it's going to be the next big thing. First, I'll take over the dental market in the United States. Then I'll take over the dental market in China. It's going to be crazy.
And what year was this?
This was in 2011 or 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of fun. I'd say it was, and it was difficult. That for the first 8 months, we just constantly lost money. So you can imagine we're working at night, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., right? Because our clients were in the United States.
Yeah.
And we're working just unbelievable hours, but every month the bank account goes down. So the upside of it is twofold. First, as a result of the bank account going down, we were constantly innovating on new ways of living in places. So, once I got to live on a boat in Hong Kong because I made them a website in exchange. Once I lived in a hotel in Mongolia for a month because I made them a website in exchange.
Sounds crazy.
I lived in like a boutique apartment in Taipei for the same result. But in effect, what happened is around maybe 8 or 9 months in, we actually figured a lot of things out. So we started to figure out, okay, this is how we sell. We started to have testimonials. And, in one day we made like $4,000. The next day we made $8,000. And then like 5 days later we made $20,000. And we were just like, oh my God, we were, just 2 of us. Our rent, in that one day, we made more than we made in the whole year before. So it was quite an exciting time.
Just a reminder that if you want to kickstart your career in tech, you should attend my webinar that's going to be launching on June 21st. You can find it at lifeofluba.com/internship. I'll leave the link below in the description. I will be teaching you guys how to get internships at top tech companies. I've interned at Airbnb and Yelp myself. I've had offers from places like Microsoft and LinkedIn, so you don't want to miss it. There's going to be a ton of amazing information in there, and I hope to see you there. So lifeofluba.com/internship.
So during your time in China, like what was the most amount of money that you were making a month running these companies when you were, and sorry, not just in China, but in Asia in general, whether you were in Taiwan or whether you were in Mongolia, yeah.
So we had spikes of like $30,000 probably would be the highest month we had. I'd say, to really kind of give it context, I was still like super young and we're still very scrappy. So the 30,000 month was there, but most of the time, if I had to average it, it would be like, $1,000 a month, right?
Okay, got it.
Very, very low amount. So much low that, for example, there were moments like I had one of my big lessons was I had like $300 left. And I was sitting there and I had to buy like a rice cooker, so I could live longer. That was my plan. And then I was talking to my co-founder at the time, and he's like, "Dude, why don't you ask your parents? Like, let them send you $500. Like, what are you doing?" I said, No, you don't understand. I want to be a slumdog millionaire. That's my move." And he's like, "First of all, you're not. Second of all, like life's already unfair. Take every advantage. Like, go talk to your parents." So I actually had a moment where I walked into the Western Union in China with like 25 Nigerian friends and me, and we're just waiting there. And there's a rap song by a Canadian artist called Kanan where he talks about just sitting in Western Union. I viscerally felt it. I was just like, take that money today. So yeah, that's
okay. So that was like hitting the low point in there. So why did you decide to, abandon that living in Asia, being an expat, everything's so cheap lifestyle to go work at an AI machine learning startup with AI back, I guess, 5 years ago now, and like later on, just to give you guys a sneak peek to the story, with AI got acquired by Facebook about 4 years ago or so. Yeah. So tell me why you decided to move back to Silicon Valley now.
So this was a pretty fun night. I actually call this night the 7-Eleven night, because what was happening is, so about 2 months after we made our like big $30,000 month, both of us, both my co-founder and I, we were really thinking about this. So this was the first time we succeeded. And, we could totally see ourselves, if we devoted the time to it, maybe like reaching the low millions of revenue. So we're sitting there, and one thing that we noticed is, even though we started succeeding, we weren't having that much fun. Like previously, we weren't having fun, but we were also losing a lot of money. So you would assume it's because of the money, not because of the dentist. Yeah. So the thinking was this. He said, look, if we really want to succeed, right? Businesses usually give you the majority of the return at year 10. So if you look at PayPal, for example, if you had left PayPal at year 3, if you stopped the business, it'd be nothing. But if you left it, even when it was acquired, some 100 million, right? Right now it's many, many billions, right? The longer the business it runs, the more value it has. But the trick is, the longer the business runs, if you even have, let's say, a 0.1% chance that you're gonna go crazy, like you can't handle it, like fuck this, right? So if there's a chance of that, then it's gonna happen in 10 years, right? Yeah. And for us, we knew, like, we weren't thrilled about the dental industry, right? I could get myself excited enough about it, right? But we'd have to be the kinds of people who go to the conferences, right? And who not only go to the conferences, they stay extra. They have like a party at the end. They talk to the people. They really are excited about it. And there are those people, right? And And the thing to think about is what was the stuff that we were really excited about.
Right.
So around that time, I started to think, and my co-founder started to think, and we said, maybe this isn't the right thing because, if we just explode in year 2, it's just a waste. So I sat down. This was the one day, like when we had this decision. It was at 3 a.m. I'm speaking about it in such a nice way, but it was pretty hard to come to this conclusion. So I sat in a 7-Eleven and I wrote down my options at the time. And I thought to myself, okay, what can I do? First, I could renounce all my worldly ambitions, right? And what I was gonna do, like, my parents live in a village in Georgia. I'm in. Like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna read books. I'm gonna like say goodbye to the world and just sit. Second is, you know what? I'm gonna go to Canada. I'm gonna go back to university. It'll be a little embarrassing. All my friends are about to graduate, but whatever. Like, I'll figure it out. Yeah. Right. And I was thinking about those two, but then a third step came into my mind, and this was the big question. I thought to myself, did I even give myself a chance to really go after the big problems, right? I had some people that I always looked up to. There's a guy that made Gumroad. He was about my age at the time. The guy that made Keep, he was about maybe a year or two older than me. So I saw these people. I'm like, why are they building these like life-changing large companies while I'm sitting in China and I'm about to close this business and I've gained 8 pounds and I don't speak Chinese, So I thought to myself and I realized, I need to go where the action is. I need to actually give myself a chance to win. And I wrote down a thought, hey, let me go to San Francisco. Let me go and build. Let me go where the big guns are, right? Let me go where I thought I couldn't make it. All right. So I wrote that down. And for the year that followed, it was essentially a year of preparation for that. So I started, instead of building then websites for dentists, I built like a recruitment platform in Ruby and I started writing in Ember and trying like all these different kinds of frameworks and changing things up and really like pushing the envelope as a programmer to the point where I could now say, hey, like I'm an engineer. So that's kind of what it came to. The real decision to move to San Francisco was, hey, I want to go where the knowledge is, where the real action is. Right? Yeah. The closer you are in any field, I think this is super important. Like whatever you want to learn, go where people are actually doing it. So
yeah, that was definitely also my motivation for moving to Silicon Valley. I was like, the industry is here. I got to be where the industry is because that's where the action is. That's where the most motivated people to do stuff in this industry are. So I totally feel you there.
Amazing, right guys? So much valuable information from Stepan in this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what stage in your career you're at in the comment section down below. And don't forget to give this show a like, a subscribe. There is going to be more episodes like this in the future. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye for now.